Once again. Oh,
Oh, you're live now. But
too
beef.
late.
Yeah. Oh, there's something in private chat. Oh, you just wrote that you're here.
Yeah,
Oh, maybe I should screen share how I got the article first. So
sure. We could
I,
also post the link to this stream on Twitter.
oh, you're gonna post the link on Twitter? Oh, go ahead.
All
Um,
right, I will.
but yeah, I was gonna screen share how I came across the article because I was sent this article from a friend. So I wanted to give him a shout out, so I don't know, the Australians don't think that I'm picking on him or something. Like, why are
Hmm.
you picking on our country? No, I just, received it from a friend.
Hmm.
And okay, so the person who sent me the article is Usual Suspect. Though I think he sent me the article about, I don't know, a few months ago. Um, but yeah, he sent me the article, and it's kind of like I read it and I learned so much, and it's taken me, I don't know, so many months to actually cover the article.
Mm.
But I'm hold on, I just maybe I could read my DMs later. Um,
Sure,
so
yeah.
I just got to
Professional
shut it.
stream quality here,
I
folks.
just I gotta shut it. It's like you were seated the M and it's like, oh, what did it say? It's like, all right. Anyway, let's see. Let's screen share the article. Hold on. Let me. One of the things I don't. I prefer the old Google Hangouts. I think that Google Hangout was more convenient.
Yeah, I miss Google Hangouts too. I have no idea why Google removed that as a feature.
Yeah, Google Hangout was easier to use, and this is so easier. So wait a minute, I should probably make it easier for people to find. This is the Sydney Morning Herald, and the title of it is Underpayments as Business Model. What's his wage theft? What's his wage theft? Oh. Wage theft describes the practice of paying workers less than they are entitled to under Australia's workplace relations system. Its various forms include underpaying wages, penalty rates, superannuation, um, overtime, commissions, and entitlements such as sick, annual, or what is that?
Careers. I think there's a grammar issue in the article.
Yeah, because it's one R. I was gonna say career sleeve,
It
but
could
it's
be
only one
carers
R.
leave.
Yeah, there's
Maybe it's
only
caring for old people, like carers leave.
carer sleeve. Yeah, because shouldn't there be well, shouldn't there be two R's in career?
I think there's two E's in career.
Or there's two E's in career? Because it doesn't look like the word career. Looks yeah, that's not the word career unless it's like a spelling error.
Yeah, that's why I think it might be carers because it's a little unlikely that this, you know, somewhat high profile newspaper would just have such a blatant spelling error. But you never know. Weirder things have happened.
Yeah, you just never know. And no idea, but there are spelling errors in books. Like I was reading Spell Slinger. The very first book was full of spelling errors. So it's like, I mean, it was a funny book, but I wish there was fewer spelling errors though. Or
Yeah.
carry sleeve, or requiring workers to repay money earned, or making unauthorized deductions from employee pay. Wage theft is distinct from the problems involved in casual and insecure work. The gig economy and tribunal decisions to reduce penalty rates because it involves unlawful activity. Even so, reports in The Age, the Sydney Morning Herald, and elsewhere have shown that in some sectors of the economy, it is not a French activity but a business model. Oh, and not
Hmm.
only that, but we do have the same problem in America. I'm not picking on Australia, but an Australia friend did send it to me. That's how I came to learn about wage theft in the first place. Before then, I never even heard of wage theft.
Mm. Yeah, wage theft is a very real issue. And it accounts for huge amounts of losses in people's income, much more so than, um, taxation or just theft that comes around from ordinary means, like people robbing you. Most of the value that you earned is actually just taken by your boss. Now, if you like, I could probably find a source on that.
Sure. And while you're looking for a source, this has wider implications. If one business is paying less than award wages, it makes it difficult for the competitors to compete and even harder to give their staff a pay rise. This has a wider impact as the Reserve Bank is urging employers to lift wages to contribute to economic growth. Lower wages also mean less income tax and payroll tax for the government. Pressure on the Morrison government to act grew significantly in July 2019 after George, um, how do you pronounce that? Columbus?
Let's see. Columbaris.
Columbus Restaurants Empire paid back staff 7.6 million. It had underpaid them as parts of an agreement with their Fair Work. I never seen that word before.
Ombudsman.
Ombudsman. It also made 200,000 contrition payments to the federal government. Within a week, Prime Minister Scott Morrison said the government was drafting laws to deal with criminalizing worker exploitation. In February 2020, the federal government released a discussion paper canvassing some other reform options. They included disqualifying di- directors where significant underpayments occur, forcing employers to display notices admitting they underpaid workers, banning companies that underpay workers from using forms of temporary migrant labor in a small claims tribunal, and underpayments. They are developments that were unthinkable even a few years ago. I didn't know if you had an opinion on any of that, or
Well, I think that all of this, first of all, I found out what an ombudsman is. So apparently, it's an official appointed to investigate individual complaints against maladministration or corruption.
oh, okay.
I know it's a pretty
That's
obscure
good to
word,
know. Yeah, it's yeah. I wish they would have used the word that more people would be familiar with than using a word that if like using unannounced words that you had to be a lot like, okay, let me Google and figure out what this is
but
because
how else would you
I
know?
didn't, huh?
How else would you know that they had to pay $200,000 in tuition to get a journalism degree?
Yeah, you're right.
But no, I think it's like a really severe issue. Like, I think some of these solutions are good ideas. I think also, governments should just fine corporations for twice the amount that they didn't pay their employees and redistribute two-thirds of that to the employees who didn't get paid because they deserve some kind of payment back. It shouldn't just be the government, oh dear, you didn't pay your workers. Here, let me take some money from you because that doesn't actually go back to the workers, right?
You're right about that. Yeah, I just think they should probably pay their workers with interest.
Mm-hmm. Because, hey, if you're going to cheat and not actually pay people properly according to the contract and job you've hired them to do, then why should you just, oh, sorry, here's the money I would have paid you, maybe, or get a light slap on the neck from the government or something. Or maybe one director will lose his job and then he'll be replaced by another director who will also continue to do wage theft. Like, I feel like meet the old boss, same as the new boss is kind of in application here. Actually, I always get that expression wrong. It's meet the new boss, same as the old boss, but I always get it the other way around.
Yeah, you're right. How does wage theft occur in franchising? In I sit in the 170 billion franchising industry has been exposed to a series of media investigations as a hotbed of wage underpayments or wage theft. Companies including convenience store giants 7-Eleven, Caltex, Domino's, Pizza Hut retail food group, which includes brands such as Brumblies, Michael's, um, I don't eat at French restaurants, Patissier, and Donut King, the bubble tea operator. Chat time have been caught underpaying workers.
I've never heard of Michael's Patisserie, Brumbies, and Donut King.
Well, it is from Australia, so I mean, Michael's patisserie might be popular in Australia, even though they're not popular in our homeland. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
live in America, you live in Canada, but maybe
Yes.
not popular in the North American continent.
I have heard of Cha Time, though. They used to have that in the city I used to live.
Hmm. We didn't have, well, not where I'm from, we don't have that. Let me look at the comments. Let's see. I know that YouTube doesn't like swear words, so I'm not gonna say that. Google Hangout was so much better. Carriers with two E's. I'm a grumpy old man. Oh my goodness, it's been such a long time. I'm a grumpy old man. Has been my very first subscriber.
Really? What a loyal man.
Yeah, he was my very first subscriber, like ever. Like ever. He was subscribed to me when nobody else was. Like he is actually number one.
He is number one. Mm, 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 mm. He is number one.
This is what happens when you allow organized crime to be involved in people smuggling.
I didn't know Australia was allowing that. I do know that they're rather infamous for dumping refugees that come from Indonesia and other countries on this one island, but that's kind of a topic for a different time.
That that reminds me of what's the Michael Ann's, what's it, the never ending story. And this is
Hmm.
another story, and it would be told at another time.
I really did love that movie.
Oh, the movie was great, but the book, okay, I like the first half of the book, but Bastian Box, he was really, really annoying. He was probably one of the top 10 most insufferable characters of all time.
Well, in the book, he does kind of become the villain of the book in the second half.
Yeah.
And then he has to find his way back after he, well, spoiler alert, loses his memories bit by bit. I do kind of like the premise of that. And I like a lot of the premises in the book version of the Neverending Story, but I do see what you mean. Bastian is kind of a pathetic character. And although I think that's something of the point,
Yeah,
it's
it
still a
is.
little tiresome.
I think, yeah, it is part of the point because I think it's meant to address male insecurities because he had bow legs, he was white and pasty and whatnot,
I
and I
think he
think he
was
was
also
like really
fat.
fat. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was really fat and whatnot. So it's like I think he was addressing male insecurities because his very first wish was to be handsome.
Hmm.
But I mean, he was still so insufferable. He was so cocky, arrogant, rude. He was just so obnoxious. He was like one of the most annoying characters of all time. Like I still wouldn't say that he is the most annoying. The most annoying character, which has got to be number one, would have to be Lambo's son from the anime Katekyo Hitman Reborn.
I've never seen that anime.
Yeah, in the anime Reborn, Lambo is the most annoying character of all time. He's the one that I would have to place as number one. The second most annoying character of all time has got to be another character from the exact same anime, Haru. I mean, it's like the author is really excellent at writing annoying characters because
How could you keep reading or watching rather if it was so horrible? All the characters were annoying.
no, not all of the characters. I mean, you had, Hibari was pretty cool. I mean,
Hmm.
Suna wasn't that bad. He got too whiny at a certain point. Like he was like, "I do not want to be a mafia boss. I do not want to be a mafia boss." I mean, you say that. If you
Then
say
just
that,
stop being a mafia boss. It's that simple.
I mean, he keeps saying that over and over and over again. At a certain point, like just accept being a mafia boss. I mean, don't complain about it for 100 different episodes because at first it's understandable. Like, oh, I could empathize with you. I wouldn't want to be a
Mhm.
mafia boss either. I feel
Not
for
too many
you.
people would.
Huh?
I said not too many people would.
Yeah, not too many people would. It's like, man, I feel you, I feel you. But then, it's kind of like, when he complains like for like 100 different episodes about it, it does starts working on your nerves after a while.
Yeah.
The welfare system in Australia is one of the most generous on the planet, and our immigration laws are full of holes. But you can't just walk across our borders, hence the people smuggling. From Professor Platypus, I don't know what number sub I am, but I've been a sub for several years.
Hmm.
Thank you very much, Professor Platypus.
Yeah. Congratulations for being such an awesome YouTuber. And Australia, I mean, it used to have very racist immigration laws until like 60s or 70s, like that were like explicitly, not only did they exclude non-white people, they excluded non-English white people.
Hmm. I didn't know that. Mm. Wait a minute, let me just go back to the article. I don't think the article is too long. Wait a minute, hold on. Let me just highlight this and see how far we got to go. I mean, there's lots of big pictures too.
So there is more article than meets the eye, but still maybe not quite as much as some of the articles we've read through before on these streams.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also big pictures, so it's probably easier to go through. I don't know how much time you have.
I have until 10 p.m. EST.
So I think
So,
we should be through long before then.
oh yeah, yeah. I'm not worried about us getting through.
Yeah, franchise business models are characterized by high fees and royalties that can add up to 10%, 10% or more of sales, draconian refurbishment costs, and policies that include having to source. Do you hear that?
Yeah. I can mute myself. That's a train.
Oh,
I'm living near a train station now.
oh yeah, I noticed that's with your last live stream. There's like you are in a different bedroom.
Yeah, that's right.
Draconia refurbishment costs and policies that include having to source products from the franchisor at prices that are sometimes more expensive than if bought elsewhere are RFG was recently caught selling full price cakes to franchisees that were near or past their use by date. Well, I don't know how. I don't know
Oh,
how this works elsewhere, but in America, when something is close to their expiration dates, the prices are lower. So it's like let's just say if something expires in 3 days, then you get it for a discount. And if something's expired, you unfortunately you had to point it out, but you are supposed to throw it away.
yeah. I think that's probably the case in Australia too, but apparently this one franchise was still selling full price cakes despite that expiry date.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they do in Canada, but in America, if something's close to its expiration dates, you have to lower the price. Well, or at least it's customary to lower the prices.
Yeah, that's the case here too.
These models pour money into the franchisor's pocket, but push franchisees to cut corners, including ripping off workers to maintain afloat. To reduce the risk of being caught, the franchisees largely employ foreign workers on visas. These overseas workers often don't understand their rights or are too afraid to speak up for fear of being deported. The you know This almost reminds me of what's going on in America, but we're going to save what's going on in America for a different live stream. But yeah, like I do recall remembering, the article saying that and your employer cannot threaten to deport you if you come forward. Your employer can't go like, well, if you come forward, we will deport you. So don't let everybody know that you're only getting paid like 10 cents per hour.
Yeah, this is why I believe in like amnesty for undocumented people and also the same wage for like foreign laborers, because I feel like it creates sort of this weird competition if you have people that can't speak the same language and they are worried that they're going to get deported. If you just take away that fear and make it the same cost to hire people that actually live in the country, then it eliminates the incentive for employers to be like, ooh, maybe we can get cheaper labor if we just bring in a bunch of people who don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I do that. Making companies pay making companies pay foreigners full price. Uh, would I think we have people from both sides, whether right wingers know it or not. I do think it would help right wingers more than they think that it would.
Yeah, I just think this would be just a generally good policy across the board. And there would probably still be some foreign workers, but, you know, there wouldn't be like this weird sort of exploitation slash competition going on.
Yeah, because the reason why companies want foreign workers because they are cheap labor. Because I
Hmm.
mean, come on, like in America, we're paying Mexicans 10 cents per hour.
As opposed to the minimum wage, which is 7.50.
Hmm. To reduce the risk of being called franchisees largely in hourly read that part. Where did the last leave off? These workers don't understand their rights or are too afraid to speak up for fear of being deported. Or they read that part. The franchising sector employs more than 500 workers and accounts for almost 8.9% of the GDP. It has
Hmm.
added up to a huge problem. Oh, sorry, I got distracted from the little message on the bottom.
Oh,
It
okay.
has it has added up to a huge problem, not just in terms of the undermining of the labor markets with wages as low as $8 or $10 an hour in cash, but the
Well, that's
number
higher
of
than the American minimum wage.
and the Mexican that was getting paid 10 cents per hour. It was in Los Angeles, and she was actually supposed to get like paid $10.30 per hour.
Mm, yeah, but the greedy people, I guess, who were employing her saw a situation that they could take advantage of.
Yeah, yeah, 10 hour in cash, but the number of franchisees left destitute, having bought the dream of running their own business. A series of inquiries has resulted in recommendations to clean up franchising and worker exploitation, but they are yet to be implemented. So, what are your thoughts so far?
Well, I think that I think I gave a good explanation of what I think a bit earlier, but I can go over it again. Amnesty for people who are undocumented and paying foreign laborers the same that you would pay people who are Australian citizens. I really don't understand why we have a two-tier system. In Canada, you can pay a foreign labor much less, something I like think $7 an hour or something like that, compared to the usual minimum wage for Canadian citizens, which is $14 an hour. It's just ridiculous.
So, in Canada, there is a class system or a tier system where, if an American were to work in Canada, an American would get paid like $7 per hour, and the Canadian would get $14 per hour.
Yeah, although the minimum wage is different in different provinces. Some of them have it higher than $14 an hour, and some of them have it lower.
Then wouldn't there be a huge incentive to hire a bunch of foreigners because they are cheaper and you could pay them less than citizens?
That is absolutely the case. And this policy was introduced by a conservative government and it hasn't been gotten rid of. Um,
Yeah,
so,
because like that's what's happening in America. Like, if you could get away with paying foreigners less, then they will hire a bunch of foreigners, and they will have no incentive to hire their citizen. It's like if I could get away with paying this person 10 cents, I am obligated to pay you $10. Why would I pay you when I could get a cheaper labor and get the exact same quality work?
exactly. And I don't know. Like I think that makes people like more aggressive towards immigrants because they feel like they're missing out on opportunities because they know that the employers can pay them less, the employers know that, and then they bring immigrants over. COVID has actually kind of wrecked that situation since a lot of people don't want to become foreign workers anymore, or it's become impossible because they're in states where COVID isn't running wild and there's border restrictions. So now there is a labor shortage and employers are having to raise wages in order to be competitive.
Mm. Okay, I'm a grumpy old man says I thought you could still use Google Hangouts as an add-on to Chrome. I'm not using Chrome, I'm using Opera. I don't use Chrome as a browser. Um, I'm a grumpy old man says Bromby's Bakeries was started by some hippies who wanted an income to fund their commune.
Well, what is it now, though? Like, it seems like it's become a bit of a different business model now that it's relying on like foreign labor and exploitation and that sort of thing.
He also says multiculturalism and mass immigration is a Marxist policy aimed at weakening Western nations so Communist China can win the Cold War.
Well, I think that's an interesting idea because if you look at China, it actually has a really low birth rate problem. Meanwhile, because of immigration, a lot of Western countries can attract some of the best and brightest professionals from all over the world. I think quote unquote mass immigration is actually a really good thing. And Western countries have adopted it to their advantages, where countries like Japan and China, they're going to suffer really terrible problems because they're going to have to support their parents in retirement in a generation when there was a whole one child policy active. That's going to be murder on whatever welfare system China even has in place. And if they try to get rid of it, then those old people are going to be angry. So I think China as not communist as I think it is now, is going to find itself in a real crisis precisely because it's so anti-immigrant.
And they also talk about how they treat the Uyghur Muslims. They don't treat the Uyghur. I mean, the Uyghur Muslims are pretty much their slaves.
And the Tibetans, they don't treat ethnic minorities very well in China. They just want everyone to kind of become Han Chinese and become one sort of model. You know, in a weird way, China is what a lot of conservatives would like America to be. You know, they want it's trying to become more and more of one nation, one culture, one language, one belief system.
Mm. Let's see. What's the farmers have to do with wage theft? Oh, what do farms have to do with wage theft? No industry in Australia has worse labor conditions or more flagrant breaking of labor laws than Australia's farms. Farmers are pressured over prices by the supermarket duopoly. Workers have little bargaining power, and Australia's visa system is ripe for exploitation. Only in recent years has there been a real attempt to organize farm workers through the United Workers Union. The results have been traumatic, with dozens of cases emerging of workers paid a pittance and of them being abused and even assaulted by unregulated middlemen. Workers from um,
Vanuatu?
Vanuatu, for example, were being paid as little as $8 an hour on a $8 an hour. That's more than how we pay our illegal immigrants.
I love how this story is like as little as $8 an hour when the minimum wage in America is like $7.50. Like you're supposed to be horrified by $8 an hour. And I'm like, wait, but
I used to get paid $8 per hour at one point in time. At one point in time, but I
Mhm.
left that job. Um, and now I get paid $9.50 an hour. That's such a huge bonus. Slightly.
150 more, score with that cash. You'll have enough to buy a prayer rug if you keep this up.
We're being paid as little as $8 an hour on uh Shep Shep I cannot pronounce foreign words. Sheep Hartson tomato farm and exposed to a chemical stench that led to nosebleeds. The age revealed in 2018.
The Age is a strange name for a newspaper. I'll just say that. Like it sounds like very mystical. The Age.
There have been changes to the law by the coalition to increase penalties for employers that exploit vulnerable workers, but the problems persist. The Victorian Farmers Federation and the ooh,
Best acronym ever.
yeah, ooh, wants visa reforms so workers from countries such as Malaysia can have a way to work here legally and be paid water wages. To be fair, they pay their illegal immigrants more than America, the more we pay ours. We pay ours like pennies and nickels.
Hmm. I guess Australian employers are trying to be a little bit more subtle.
Yeah, I guess so. Oh, wait a minute. Let me check my the first. Okay, I'm a grumpy old man says the first example of cheap imported labor into Australia was when a multinational mining company started up and thought local wages were too high. They wanted to break the unions. Mm, well, that's interesting. Any thoughts on that, Lapis?
Well, I think they should simply, there should be laws against them doing that, If they're just going to bring people over, the the wages should be the same for them as it would be for the unionized workers in Australia. That way, they have no incentive to do that.
Okay, let's see. Why do we hear about wage theft in hospitality so often? Hospitality is almost entirely ununionized, although that is changing a little, and many workers are backpackers, students, or young people. The workplace, um, the workplace regulator, the Fair Work. Uh, let me, man, what's that word?
Ombudsman.
Ombudsman. Yeah, ombudsman, and it's an official usually appointed by the government who investigates complaints, usually lodged by private citizens against businesses, financial institutions, universities,
Yeah.
governments, departments, and other public entities in attempts to resolve the conflicts or concerns raised. Ombudsman. It's like, why do they have to use that word? Some obscure word that many people never heard of. Is unable to track or resourcing or will to make much of a difference. The Ombudsman surveys have regularly shown around half of all hospitality businesses are non-compliance with labor laws. There are a variety of roars.
What is a rort?
I have no idea. Let me
I'm going to look
just,
it up.
yeah, roars.
Rort.
Roars.
Rort.
Warts, a fraudulent or dishonest act or practice.
Or a wild party. I'm guessing it's the former.
In restaurants, these often involve full time staff being paid just above the award wage, but being required to do excessive unpaid overtime. You know, I've had a job that had that problem where I looked at my overtime pay, or, like people were quitting because they weren't receiving their overtime. And then when I tried to go to the departments of labor, let me tell you, the Department of Labor only has 1 star. Pretty much, you should see their Google page. It only has 1 star, and like a bunch of, like pretty much each and every single comment was the complaints about the Departments of Labor, from everybody being rude and nasty to being refusing to help workers.
I don't really understand why you'd get involved with a Department of Labor unless you're interested in helping workers. The thing is, though, I think the Department of Labor in neoliberal capitalism is sort of like it sort of exists as like the same sort of thing with like human resources. It's so companies and governments can be like, look, we're listening while preparing to ignore everything you're saying, and then like, have a nice day. We'll look into that. And then they do nothing about it, you know?
Yeah, I totally and completely agree with you. Oh, that's a person. Like I was thinking it's another word that I probably didn't understand, but it's actually a person.
I thought
So
there was a Max Blumenthal who was some sort of commenter on Gray Zone and everything like that.
yeah, it's just that
PSL. I
I
wonder
do
if there's any relation.
I do not recognize so many of these names. I was It's because I'm not Australian, so of course I wouldn't recognize these names. It's like, is it like a building? I just didn't recognize any of these names. It's like software to me. Anyway, where did I leave off? In restaurants, these often involve full-time staff being paid just above award wage, but being required to do excessive unpaid overtime that can push the actual wage down to $15 an hour. How much should they get paid in Australia that could push the actual wage down $50 an hour, that must mean that they probably get paid $20 per hour or maybe $25 per hour if their wages are being pushed down. While Americans, we are trying to raise the minimum wage to $15 per hour. Um, that has occurred most graphically at high end restaurants where the Sunday Age has exposed some of the biggest names in the industry. They include Neil Perry. I have no idea.
Heston Blumenthal.
Heston Blumenthal, the restaurant's empire behind the Chin Chin.
What kind of a name for a brand is that?
Is it Chin Chin? Is it a Japanese word for? Maybe not. I think that Chin Chin is a Japanese word for like a male's private parts, but probably not. Probably not. Um,
I
Sajij.
Googled it, and apparently it's a fried snack in West Africa.
Oh, oh, I
Let's
thought
see.
that Chin Chin was like a Japanese word for something. I thought it was Japanese for like a male's private parts.
There's kin kin, which is a Chinese plucked lute, a Toriko character. Yeah, I don't know where you got that one. I haven't been able to find that one yet. Oh, chin chin, a Japanese profanity for. Oh, yes, yes. But it's not just about a guy's, private parts. It's a little boy's.
Oh, it's also little boys' private area.
Specifically, it refers to a little boy's, not a man's.
Oh, yeah. Prepubescent.
That's right.
Oh, let's see. Then, of course, there is now former MasterChef star George um, Calumbaris,
Yeah.
whose business collapsed in the early 2020 after a consumer boycott. Elsewhere,
Good.
the elsewhere the rewards can involve being paid cash in hand or being paid a flat rate without legal penalty rates, which is commonplace. The problem is so endemic, any change will necessarily be slow and painful. A greater role for unions to inspect books, a stronger Umspensben, and visa reform would be a start, as would the ability to more easily make legal claims for underpayments. At the moment, it is often too costly to make worthwhile.
Hmm.
How are supermarkets involved in wage theft? One of the biggest underpayment scandals was, on the face of it, perfectly lawful and went on for many years with the complicity of a majority union.
And that's why I think unionization is a good thing, but there also has to be accountability for unions. Sometimes I think it's better if it's a small network of unions all working together than like one giant union, which, can be easily sort of corrupted. And then what are the workers supposed to do? But if you are a bunch of different small unions all working together, you can spot the rot more easily. And it's more easy to target specifically where the corruption is rather than oh, well, I guess it's just somewhere in this massive organization.
Yeah, yeah, you have a good point. Yeah, this is the last section. This is actually the last section. If we finish it, we'll be through. Um,
Wow.
what time do you have?
I have until 10 p.m., remember?
Yeah, but I mean, what time is it now in Canada?
It is 8:44 p.m.
Okay, so we still have plenty of time. An investigation by the Age and the Sydney Morning Herald in 2015 to 16 found that some of Australia's biggest companies in deals with the Shop Assistance Union had struck deals that traded away penalty rates and other conditions would only small increases in hourly rates. The dividend for the unions was the employer encouraged union membership, which gave them wealth and power in the labor's part internal forums.
So it was really just kind of like a collusion, you know, okay, you will screw over our workers, and in turn, you can help us get more political influence.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I think too. It's just estimated that at least 20, 2,500,000 workers were underpaid from the deals struck between big business and the shop distributive and allied employees association. The deals were incorrectly approved by the Fair Work Commissions despite the legal requirements. They only approve agreements that pass the Better Off Overall test, BOOTS, which is designed to ensure no worker is paid less than minimum rates of the award. In 2016, the full bench of the Fair Work Commission found that a deal involving coals and the Coles, that reminds me, there is something in America called Coles. I get distracted too easily. Anyway, and the SDA failed the boots.
Isn't Kohl's like a clothing store?
Yeah, I think Coles is a clothing store in America. As a result of the Coles decision, employers such as Woodsburg, Domino's, and KFC had no choice but to strike deals that pay workers much higher rates. McDonald's also been required to pay full penalty rates. Green's MP Adam
Bandit.
Bandits without an I, it's
I was
bandits.
going to say Bant or something like that.
Yeah, bandits because it's like bandits would have an I between the D and the T. So it's sort of like bants or
It's a
something.
difficult name because D and T is not really a combination on last names or words that you see in English.
Yeah. I wish I had an Australian on the stream and Sue. Um, Coles is, yeah, Cole, according to I'm a Grumpy Old Man, he says that Coles is a supermarket. I'm a grumpy old man says, indeed, but it's logical when you think about it. For international socialism to succeed, all capitalist liberal democracies must be sabotaged from within. For an American Marxist, capitalist America must be defeated by communist China.
I mean, I see a lot of critiques on China from people who are left wing in my sphere. I don't know if you've seen that as well, but you know.
It all depends if the person's a tanky or not.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly are people I can kind of see who'd be like, okay, maybe that's a fair criticism of like certain brands of third worldist, like Jason Unruhui or whatever his name is. He has an absurd hairstyle, and he makes these weird propaganda videos. He lives in Canada, and he's like, Americans, you should vote Republican so things get worse in America, um, and then America will collapse. But then in Canada, he wanted everyone to vote for the Liberals so things would get better for him.
Oh, look, it's Alciar. Alciar, I believe, pronounced Adam Band. Thank you.
Adam Band. Thank you, Oziar.
Let's see. Benz has proposed amendments to the Fair Work Act to tighten the boots and ensure there will be no repeats. And that's the end of the article.
And fair enough, you know, I do think that there should be a tightening of the law to ensure that there's no sort of corrupt deals worked out. Like, hey, I'll get everyone to sign up to my organization, and I'll let you screw the workers I'm supposed to be representing a little more. You know?
Yeah, since you still have time, since you still have an extra hour to go, we could end this live stream and start a new live stream, but this time it would be like wage theft across America. Want to do that?
Sure.
Okay, okay, get ready for part two. Part two is going to be wage debt across America.
Mm-hmm. All
See
right.
you, Dan.
Thank you all so much, everyone, for watching. See you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.